My name is Jamie Taylor, and today is November 19th, 2022, and I'm going to talk about the skeletal system. And then here's my note card that I'll use. It kind of just makes sure I hit the different requirements that I was supposed to talk about. So I will have this down here by the skeleton just to make sure I hit what was asked of me to be, or make sure I have in the video what was required. The skeletal system is the body's central framework, and it consists of the bones and connective tissues, including muscles, including cartilage, tendons, and ligaments. And the bones are classified according to shape, and so some of the different shapes. There's the long bones, and we have 90 long bones in the adult body, and the long bones are longer than they are wide, and they're made mostly of compact bone, and then they have a head at the end that most often contains spongy bone. So some examples of long bones would be the humerus or the femur. And then we have the short bones, and the short bones are the same in width and height, so they kind of have a cube-like shape. So some of those would be in some of the carpals, most of the carpals, and the tarsals. Then we have the flat bones, and before the flat bones, let's do the sesamoid bones, because they're kind of a subset of the short bones. And the sesamoid bones are embedded in tendons, so that would be like the patella. And then we'll go to the flat bones, and the flat bones serve the purpose to protect, and they're a thin plate of spongy type bones, so like the sternum would be an example of that, or the parietal frontal bones. And they are made of the spongy bone covered with a thin layer of compact bone. Then we also have the sutural or wormian, I think that's the other name they're called, but they're within the cranial sutures of, and they don't really serve a function except they might be an indicator of disease. Then we have the irregular bones, and the irregular bones are in a variety of shapes and sizes, so like the hip bone, right, would be an example of the irregular bones. Going to shape, dimension, and show cranial. Okay. So the skeletal system is divided into the axial and then the appendicular, so the appendages. And so in the axial skeleton we have the cranium. So some of the bones in the cranium are the front. Here we have the frontal lobe, the parietal bones. We have the occipital bone at the back, back here. Then, I guess I could turn. The occipital bone back here. Then we have the temporal bones. You see them? Yeah, temporal bones. We also have the I can't remember what it was called. I think sphenoid, and the sphenoid was like a butterfly shaped, and it's deep to the superficial bone, so you'll see, but it connects it's almost like a thin butterfly shape, but it connects the facial bones to the cranial bones, so it serves a significant purpose. You have the ethoid, which is part of the nasal cavity. Then in the facial bones, we have some of the zygomatic bone here, the lacrimal bone, which is where kind of where the tear would be. We have the vomer bone right here, and also the conch, and our nasal bone is all in this area. The conch is in the interior. And then you have the maxilla and the mandible down here in the lower jaw. You have the hyoid, which is the only bone that is not connected, but it attaches to muscle. I think I got all the pieces. We also have the palatine bone, so it's posterior to the palate, so you can see it if the mouth's open and you look in there. So the main ones of those. Then we'll go into I'm going to turn them around. We have the vertebrae here. So these 7 vertebrae here are the cervical vertebrae, and C1 and C2 have kind of another name. C1 is atlas, and C2 is an axis, but these are the cervical. Then we get into the thoracic. These are the thoracic vertebrae within the thoracic cage. Then it moves into the lumbar, and the lumbar are the largest of the vertebrae. And then we go down into the sacrum and then the coccyx. And then back here we also have the scapula bones. I'll turn it back to the front where we have the clavicle bone. These are all still on the axis of the skeleton. This is the clavicle. Here we have the sternum, the xiphoid process. Here we have the thoracic rib cage. So here's the ribs, which serve to protect the vital organs. And then we go into the appendicular part of the skeleton where we have the humerus right here. And then we have the radius and the ulna. And you move down into here and you have the carpals, metacarpals, and then the phalanges, and it goes to the proximal, middle, and distal. That's the same on both sides. Then we go down to, we have the femur bones, then the patella, and it goes, ooh, it's going to fall. Sorry. Then it goes down to the tibia, the fibula. And we go down here to the tarsals and the metatarsals, and then we get into the phalanges, which are also the proximal, middle, and distal. I also did miss part of here is the hip bone. Forgot to mention that. And then, so here we have the pubic bone, the ischium, and the iliac, I think is what it was. Maybe. Ilium. This was the ilium. Sorry, the pubic and the ischium. I got those two messed up. So the hip bone is also part, and I think I overlooked that. Then the other thing I was to mention was an example in the clinical setting. And so I think since I'm wanting to work with cardiac function, one example could be if someone goes into cardiac arrest and CPR is performed incorrectly, it could cause damage to the sternum or even the xiphoid process, which could in turn rather than help cause more damage. So it's important and significant to know definitely what the different parts of the skeletal system are in relation to how they protect and what their role is.